Coming in at number 100 is Nightingales with the Black Stream, and this has a very definitive old-school Melodeath sound, which only makes sense since the band has been around since 1995, and 28 years into their career, they feel just as fresh as ever with that great Melodeath sound, but it's got that great raw production to it, it's got that great musicianship that you really expect from the genre, and of course Dan Spano put his hands on this with the production, mixing, and mastering that he's done so very well over the years. If you're looking for something with that at the gates, dark tranquility, in flames kind of feel, but something very different, I think this German band might be for you. Coming in at number 9 is Harbored with their self-titled debut. This is featuring members of Allegiant and Oak, Ash, and Thorn, creating something that's very different from the sounds that they have done in the past, especially with Allegiant focusing more on the progressive or technical death metal side. Seeing them embrace atmospheric black metal and black gaze is a sight to behold. They really know how to really focus in on the more post elements, the more atmospheric, and really has some great ebb and flow throughout the entire thing. Of course, when you got those great black metal drums aside, it adds everything together in such a beautiful and dark way. I'm not sure if this is going to be the focus of any of the members of the band, but the fact that they created this side project and have created some great atmospheric and black gaze, I think it's incredible work, and I hope that they'll be able to continue this in the future. And number 98 is Obsolete Theory with Doomlight, a band that has really changed their sounds over the course of many years, but it's definitely been for the best. Starting off as more of a black and roll, death and roll kind of band, and now really fully embracing the black gaze and atmospheric black metal sound. This is really one of the best albums of the genre in 2023. With their style, their musicality, the production is just the right amount of raw and clear at the same time to really appease the old school black metal fans and the post-gaze fans in so many ways. This is definitely going to be a more overlooked album, but if you're looking for something in this particular genre, you really should give this one a chance. Coming in at number 97 is Oak Pantheon with The Absence. This Minnesota black metal band has really put out their most ambitious album to date, focusing much more on their progressive side, their post side, their folk metal side. There's a little bit of all of that and so much more. Of course, they still have black metal in their hearts, but it's great to see a band like this really expanding and showing off their entire musical palette so far. If you want something that's more in the lines of very ambitious style black metal, this is something that you should give a chance. And if you like the works of Panopticon, there's some members of Oak Pantheon that play in the live setting of Panopticon, so that might give you a reason to check this thing out. Coming in at number 6 is Riverside with ID Entity. And for those that appreciate the progressive rock sound, Riverside has been one of the greatest progressive rock bands of the 21st century. Whether they go more into the heavier side, whether they go more into the 70s rock kind of style, or on this particular album, it's a little bit of everything, but also featuring more of the modern rock kind of feel. It's got a little more electronica moments going on, and it really matches up with the concept so well. And it feels like a good counterpoint to the new Lunatic Soul album, which also kind of features the same idea about AI, artificial intelligence. So whether that's your bag or not is totally on to you, but when it comes to the music, I really enjoy what's going on here. While it might have fallen off to the wayside, I still enjoy this album, and if you enjoy the progressive rock of Riverside, you shouldn't miss out on this album. At number 95 is Chamber with A Love to Kill For. Now, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, just like the album. If you enjoy the chaotic mathcore of something like Dillinger Escape Plan or The Chariot, or a personal favorite band of mine like the Arson Choir, I think you should check this out. It's short, sweet, goes proggy, it goes metalcore, it goes hardcore, it goes in so many different directions. It is all over the map, but it all makes complete sense once you start to dial in and start to unlock that puzzle. It's one of those albums that might only fit under a few categories for people, but if you love that chaotic side, this is an album for you. Coming in at number 94 is Smackbound with Hostage, the first of many, and I do mean many, Finnish metal bands that'll make the list this year. Of course, this isn't melodeath, this is more of the melodic modern metal tinge, and it really feels like even with 2 albums, the band has really grown up in that short span of time. Of course, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen as their guitarist Teemu is now in Megadeth full-time. I'm very curious to see what the state of this band's going to be going forward. I hope it can still happen. But with all that said, all of this features some great catchy choruses, some great modern hooks, and a crystal clear production value. And if you just want something that feels like it should be on top 40 rock and hard rock radio, you might really enjoy this album. I know I do. Now at 93 is Aeodon with Portraits. And this is another fantastic atmospheric black metal album that is something that is very rare in the style. It has fantastic production. It's not just that pure raw sound that you'd get from the early 90s. It's 2023. You can change that things up now for free. But that's besides the point. You mentioned that with good production, songwriting, and just a great ebb and flow and peaks and valleys, and you get one of the most intriguing atmospheric black metal albums of 2023. I don't see enough people talking about this album, and maybe you'll check it out now because I mentioned it. And I hope you do. Coming in at number 92 is Lancer with Tempest. And this is a brand new discovery for me this year, and I love everything that they've been able to accomplish with this album. 4 albums in, and it feels like the band is just getting catchier and catchier, writing better and better hooks, and just has that great patented power metal, speed metal, 80s metal vibe. And if that's something you're looking for, but just a little bit of a new spin on it, Lancer's a band that you need to check out. Coming in at number 91 is Ashbringer with We Came Here to Grieve. Funny enough, they only live 1 town over from me. The band has been around for quite a bit of time now, and they've gone from everything from the pure atmospheric black metal sound to more the black gaze sound, and this time they are even calling themselves false black metal, because this album is sure to make a lot of the purists in the black metal very, very upset with their sounds. Combining everything from a little bit of country sound to jazz to progressive music, this is easily one of the most ambitious albums, not just in black metal, but in general in 2023. And I think they hit all the boxes that they were trying to mark, and I really appreciate everything that they're doing on this album. And I hope the band even expands even further. Like, of course, keep that black metal sound, but go even further with what you can do with the genres. Show that you are more than what you're labeled as, even if it is considered false black metal. Coming in at number 90 is Ice Giant with Ghost of Humanity. And this is a band that I discovered this year thanks to Prog Power, and I really thoroughly enjoy what they've done. This is a big transition from their first album, and their sophomore album 5 years later here really shows the band going more into the melodic death metal, symphonic death metal, power thrash, power metal, like a great combination of so many different genres together, but it all makes sense in context. None of it feels like it's too avant-garde or anything. Every song has its own distinct feel, and really, it's more cohesive than I'm making it out to be. This is some great heavy stuff here, and if you're looking for something from the American side of symphonic and melodic death metal, you should check this one out. Coming in at number 89 is Scar Symmetry with the Singularity Part 2, Zenithaph. And despite it being lower on the list, make sure you read the rules down below so you know that this is the top 100 albums of 2023, not just 100 albums that I heard in 2023. This album is still fantastic. It is easily the heaviest album the band has put out so far, but don't fret, there are so many great melodic moments that happen throughout this, a lot of great progressive moments that happen throughout. And of course, it continues the story of the Singularity, which may or may not be the next album, finalizing in part 3. When I talked to Per earlier this year, which you should check out that interview, he mentioned that they might be doing something completely different for the next album, or they might do part 3, they're still working things out. But the fact that they can get this heavy and still be melodic at the same time is a-okay in my book. And if you needed any reassurance that Scar Symmetry is still sounding great 9 years later, all you need to do is check this one out. Coming in at number 88 is Enslaved with Heimdall. And I'm honestly kind of surprised that it ranked this kind of low on the list, as usually Enslaved albums are ranked very, very high in my top 100, but a culmination of a couple different things happened where I just was not able to give this album the time of day. But that said, every time that I do spin it, I thoroughly enjoy it. It is focused more on the black metal side. It is a much more raw album than what they've been doing in recent times, so if you're an old school Enslaved fan, this is an album that you're probably really gonna enjoy. And if you like the latter day Enslaved, you'll still find some great progressive, melodic moments throughout this entire album that should be right up your alley as well. Coming in at 87 is Arrival of Autumn with Kingdom Undone. The band's third album in 9 years really shows the band doing their most catchy album to date so far, while not straying away from what made them a standout band to begin with. There's still great thrash moments throughout this thing, great proggy moments as well, but it really does focus more on some really catchy metalcore moments, which really do hit in the right spots. The choruses really knock you out of the park, the riffs can get so heavy with their breakdowns. There's so many great things to enjoy about this album, and if you're looking for a new, fresh take on metalcore and you've never checked out this band before, you should give them a shot. Coming in at number 86 is Obituary with Dying of Everything, and this album hits so very, very hard in 2023. The fact that they decided to even up the tempo and create their fastest song to date with Barely Alive, when they're known for being such a slower to mid-tempo death metal band, shows that the band is still full of fuel in the tank. While I may enjoy their self-titled album, which is the previous album, a bit more, I really enjoy everything that's in this package, and I really hope I get to see them again to see these songs live in person, because if they sound this good on record, it's going to be even better live. Coming in at number 85 is Recite the Cynic with their self-titled debut. Stefan Weinerhall has done so many great things, from black metal to power folk metal, and now he's taking on synthwave metal. This brand new duo has created that great 80s synth sound, but modernized just enough, with very strong vocals, which could be polarizing to some people. I think really works out for the benefit of the band. And just seeing the creativity that Stefan has put in musically behind this album, I'm very grateful to see that he's continuing on musically. While this may not catch the appeal of Falconer fans, it still might. It still might, and you should not count this one out. It's cool stuff. Coming in at 84 is Aeonic Impulse with Beyond the Light. The sophomore album from this band did take a bit of time for it to finally come out, but I'm so glad that it did. It shows the band shifting into a different direction, exploring their musical wings, but still maintaining that core sound of what the band is all about. This time around on Beyond the Light, they still have those great proggy moments that anyone that enjoys the progressive rock side will thoroughly enjoy, going into a bit more different territories. The fact that they can have a song that sounds like Incubus that goes into one of the heaviest Gojira breakdowns that you've heard really shows where the band is at right now in 2023. Another very underrated progressive rock, progressive metal album, but if you like the idea of more alternative styles in your prog, this is an album worth your time. Coming in at number 83 is Valençaro with Shore Stank. And it's been a while since the band has put out any new material, but they came back with a vengeance this time around. The folk elements are so enjoyable. The progressive metal side really makes it feel like if Devin Townsend decided to start a folk metal band. And of course the comedy bits, just like with the Devin Townsend parts, you gotta have that little tongue-in-cheek feel behind it. All of that combined creates some magnificent musicianship and songwriting, and an overall sense of what folk metal could be. While there's not too many bands going on in folk metal right now, at least compared to a decade ago, I'm glad to see Valençaro has come back with a full vengeance. Coming in at number 82 is Beyond the Black with their self-titled album. And just several albums into their career, they have come out with their self-titled album, and it might be one of their strongest albums to date. While the band has kind of pushed away their symphonic sound for a more modern metal sound, they still find a way to be able to blend both of them so they work in perfect harmony. So the songs are a bit catchier to the top 40 rock crowd, but I imagine in a live setting that these songs will really go over well. This has been happening a lot in the genre where the symphonics and modern metal have been combining together, but this is a shining example of how it can be done right. And finally today, coming in at number 81 is Inherits the Void with the Impending Fall of the Stars. This is pure atmospheric black metal. So it's got those great blast beats, black metal screaming and tremolo picking that you would expect, with those great tinges of post-rock elements that really add to the atmosphere. This is a dark, brooding album, very emotional, mournful, and it really gives you a punch to the gut. But, all of that said, if you enjoy this style of music, this should be right up your alley. I haven't seen enough people talk about this album, especially from those that enjoy this genre, so please, if you enjoy the atmospheric black metal stuff, give Inherence the Void your shot. Coming in at number 80 is Metal Church with Congregation of Annihilation. Now, this is a pure watershed moment for the band, as a very big series of unfortunate incidents has plagued the band pretty much since the beginning. But now they're back with new frontman Mark Lopez, and I think they've put out some of their strongest material in a very, very long time. So many great heavy hitters on this album, no real ballads to speak of, which might be the only flaw I can think on this album because I'm a sucker for a good Metal Church ballad. But a lot of great mid-tempo numbers, and of course, a couple 80s songs that really remind me of some good sleaze rock. If you want to see how Metal Church has maintained to be one of the best, underrated, and overlooked bands that ever came out of the 80s, give this album a shot and show that they are one of the best albums still going, or one of the best bands still going in 2023. Coming in at number 80 is Metal Church with Congregation of Annihilation. Now, this is a pure watershed moment for the band, as a very big series of unfortunate incidents has plagued the band pretty much since the beginning. But now they're back with new frontman Mark Lopez, and I think they've put out some of their strongest material in a very, very long time. So many great heavy hitters on this album, no real ballads to speak of, which might be the only flaw I can think on this album because I'm a sucker for a good Metal Church ballad. But a lot of great mid-tempo numbers, and of course, a couple 80s songs that really remind me of some good sleaze rock. If you want to see how Metal Church has maintained to be one of the best, underrated, and overlooked bands that ever came out of the 80s, give this album a shot and show that they are one of the best albums still going, or one of the best bands still going in 2023. Coming in at number 79 is Oblivion Protocol with their debut album, The Fall of the Shires. This is a brand new supergroup featuring members of Threshold, Within Temptation, Darkwater, and Devin Townsend. And this does get heavy enough to be progressive metal, but it really is a progressive rock album. You won't find anything too harsh on this album, but it is very pleasant to listen to no matter your prog stylings. It goes all over the board with magnificent musicianship and songwriting. The production just sounds so crystal clear and you can hear what everyone is doing no matter how technical it gets. It is a prog album I don't see enough people talking about, and I think that needs to change. Give that a shot. This album is well worth your time if you're a prog head. Coming in at number 78 is Horrendous with Ontological Mysterium. Now, this album actually made number 1 for Decibel's Top 40 Albums of 2023, and I absolutely understand why. It combines my love of 90s progressive death metal, like Cynic, Atheist, Edge of Sanity, and others. It easily has the best production the band has ever done, and of course the songwriting is phenomenal. I did not get to hear this album enough, but every time that I do listen to it, I find something new to appreciate about it. But if you love that raw feel of the 90s progressive death metal scene, this is an absolute must listen. Horrendous is leading the charge, so give them a shot while they're still underground and before they skyrocket to the top. Coming in at number 77 is Celestial with Broken Vows and the Unspoken Truth. The debut album from this Indonesian progressive death metal band is a real sight to behold. It combines a lot of elements that I did not expect, but it fits so perfectly with the modern day progressive death metal sound. Great cleans, awesome growls, technical proficiency all over the board. This thing is nice and heavy and gets nice and clean when it needs to. And another album that I wish a lot more people were talking about, but hey, if I'm covering them here, that means that they're worth checking out, and I hope that means something to you as well. Give this one a shot if you need some more prog death in 2023. Coming in at number 76 is Dying Fetus with Make Them Beg for Death. I'll leave this one short and sweet. If you love what Dying Fetus has been doing over the past decade, this album is for you. Not really going so much into the death grind, even though that's still here in spades. The band is more focused on their tech death sound, and it really does work for the band. It gets simple when it needs to, it gets very technical at the right spots, and of course the vocals and lyrics are beyond brutal. If you love what Dying Fetus has become, this is just another outstanding album from the band. Coming in at number 75 is Sin Heresy with Castaways. The band's fourth album since their inception 10 years ago is fantastic work, where the band is continuing to explore their symphonic side, adding more melodic moments than ever before, and some modern tinges as well. If you really enjoy the works of Epica and Nightwish, this is definitely a band that you should not sleep on. They're continuing that trend without losing what the symphonic metal elements and genre is all about. Coming in at number 74 is Mariana's Rest with Hour. The band's fourth album since their debut album in 2016 continues the path of that melodic doom metal and death doom sound that they've patented so very, very well. It also helps that they got the godfather of the death doom sound, Aaron Stainthorpe of My Dying Bride, to be able to have his fantastic clean spoken word on a track on this album. But yes, if you love that slow, mid-paced, melodic death doom, this is an album that is a must here in 2023. And hey, with where I am in the US, winter is coming, so this is a perfect album to put on. Coming in at number 73 is Sotana with Onas 1. Now this is an album that I thoroughly enjoyed, but I completely and utterly forgot about it, and much to my dismay, it only ended up at number 73. But on the other end, it did make my top 100, which means that it's absolutely worth your time. This is great melodic black and death metal for the fans of Winter Sun, Children of Bodom, Brimir, Gladenfold. If you love any of that Swedish, Scandinavian melodic death metal sound, this has covered that in strides, and one of the best examples in 2023. Coming in at number 72 is Tailgunner with Guns for Hire. This debut album from this UK outfit perfectly blends that revival metal sound, that heavy metal sound, and just the right amount of tinges to make it modern for 2023. So if you're looking for anything between Enforcer, Iron Maiden, Halloween, or even Night Demon, you'll find something to thoroughly enjoy about this album. Of course, the name of the band and the title should give you an idea of what's going on lyrically, and if you enjoy that stuff, it's right for you. Number 71 is Max Enix with Far From Home. This double album concept is one of the most bombastic and hugely filled albums, not just of 2023, but in general, that has ever been made. Basically, every style of rock and metal is covered on this album, and so many things that aren't even a part of that as well, like world music and jazz and hip-hop. It is a conglomeration of almost every style. The only thing I couldn't really find is like drone or grindcore, but otherwise everything else is shown up in some way, shape, or form. With so many guest appearances from so many people that I'm not going to mention any of them because I'll be leaving out someone important to it. This is one of the most ambitious albums I've ever heard. And if you want something for someone who says that they enjoy everything, let's see if this album is for you. Coming in at number 70 is Fires in the Distance with Air Not Meant for Us. You would imagine a band like this who does melodic death doom so very well would be from the darkest reaches of Scandinavia. But would you believe they're actually from Connecticut? I know, I didn't believe it at first either, but with the band's sophomore album, they fully go in depth into their melodic death doom roots, exploring a little bit more, and of course so very piano driven, which may lead a lot of people to check out the band because those pianos are so nice. Yes, this is a fantastic album off Prosthetic Records, which you would never imagine melodic death doom to be on that label, but seriously, if you're looking for some great melodic death doom, this is where it's at. And trust me, there'll be more in the list. Coming in at number 69, nice, is Bell Witch with Future's Shadow Part 1, The Clandestine Gate. This is only Part 1 of 3. That's right, 2 more parts of Future's Shadow will be coming out in the future. But until then, The Clandestine Gate pretty much acts as an intro, the beginning part of the whole song. And funny enough, it's the exact same length as Mirror Reaper down to the second. Can you play them both at the same time and make them fit? I haven't tried it yet. But until then, this is a great introduction into funeral doom metal, so you really get the idea of what it's about. Slow, churning riffs, It feels like it's beyond the grave, and a story that you really need to experience to get the full depth of it all. And of course, part 2 and 3 are on the horizon, so check this one out now, before those releases come out. And this won't be the only Funeral Doom that makes it on the list, but this is a fine example in 2023. Coming in at number 68 is Death Clock with Death Album 4. This very well could be the last Death Clock album that we get, and if it is, they went out on the highest note possible. And I know that might be sacrilege to say, but I do feel like this is the best album Death Clock has ever put out. It may not have the catchiest songs because none of these songs are on the TV show. In fact, only one of the songs appears in the latest movie, The Rise of the Doomstar, but I do feel like the songs stand out on their own. Some of the most melodic moments that have ever happened, some of the catchiest moments that happen, and just some of the best music the band has ever done. What is Brendan Small and Gene Hoglan going to do in the future? I have no idea. But again, if this is the end of Death Clock for real, we don't need a Death Album 5. They perfectly close things off. Coming in at number 67 is Chrome Waves with The Earth Will Shed Its Skin, featuring members past and present of Skeleton Witch, Abigail Williams, and Amiensis. This collective has always been a very noir kind of band where they never stick to the same style twice, but it still feels classic and new at the same time. It's kind of like a polar opposite kind of thing, but it works so very well. With this particular album, the band expands itself. It goes into more gothic territories, it goes into more alternative territories, even more into the noir, like I mentioned, with some great jazz moments that you don't expect. But of course, it's all in the name of black gaze. And I really appreciate it when a band can go out of their comfort zone and continue to explore. And that's exactly what Chrome Waves does every single time. Coming in at number 66 is Ahab with The Coral Tombs. The band has always tackled novels that deal with oceanic themes, hence the name Ahab, if you can gather where that's from. This time around, the band tackles 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and they actually start off with the heaviest moment that they've ever done, featuring blast beats and screaming, which you would never expect in a band like Ahab. But then, it goes right into that rich tapestry of what Ahab has always been about, with that oceanic feel of funeral doom metal, where it feels like you're plunging down to the bellows of the sea. And of course, it goes with the story of 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, so you can see how it all matches up if you are a scholar. This is one of my favorite albums from early on in the year, and it's still held up being in the top 100, which I'm very, very happy for. This album is fantastic, and if you want another spin on funeral doom metal, Ahab may be the band for you. Coming in at number 65 is Twilight Force with At the Heart of Wintervale. And honestly, this album should be much higher on the list, but unfortunately, I just let it get past me this year and I forgot to keep listening to it, even though I enjoy it so very, very much. But that does not mean, because of where it's at, it's not worth checking out, because this may be the best Twilight Force album yet. It's so much fun, you can see how the band has grown so much in their style, and they incorporate so much. Of course, that power metal sound, a little bit of black metal going on, and even some Caribbean flavors, which you may not expect, at least on the first time around. Yes, this album is just the definition of fun and power metal, and it's sad that so many people do not enjoy the fun and power metal, because Twilight Force is worth checking out. And if you just need some positivity in your power metal, give Twilight Force a shot. Coming in at number 64 is Vulture Industries with Ghosts from the Past. This band has changed so much over the years, whether it's their previous name or just between every single album. This time around, it has a little more of a punky, gothic kind of feel, which I think really fits in with their more progressive and alternative overtones. I've heard it described as a band recording an album at Dracula's castle right before he starts the feed on them, and I think that's a great way to be able to define this album. It's just got those great feelings behind it, a great production value, and anything from goth to prog to alternative, it's got something for you here. While you may not enjoy everything, I certainly do. and it's well worth your shot to give this Norwegian band a chance. Coming in at number 63 is Ex Mortis with Necrophony. While it's been a few years since the last Ex Mortis album, it is so great to see the band come back post-pandemic and just see what they're capable of here in 2023. They got some of their heaviest riffs yet, they continue to shine in their neoclassical sense, and whether they're doing instrumentals or just full-on death thrash, they got everything done perfectly on this album. While I've seen it go under the radar, I need to remind you that this album's out and it is for your ears. Whether you love something like Yngwie or you just need something in that death thrash realm, this album is for you. Coming in at number 62 is Memoriam with Rise to Power. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, as this is a great continuation of what ex-members of Bolt Thrower have continued on with their old school death metal sound. Of course, updated enough to deal with what's going on in the world today, while giving history lessons of what we should try to avoid right now, but look how well that's working. But seriously, the music is so great if you love that Bolt Thrower sound, but just in 2023, check out Memoriam. Number 61 is Michael Abdel with Seance in Black. This particular album struck me so hard because of the musicianship, the songwriting, and the craftsmanship of Michael Abdel has been able to be capable of through Fate's Warning, Last Chance to Reason, Ray Alder's solo work, which you may show up on the list later, wink wink nudge nudge, but of course I wanted to be able to show off his solo work as well too. Every album has a very distinct sound to it. No two albums sound the same, and this one goes into some more darker territory, especially given the name, you can see that. To me, it feels like the kind of album that you put on a cold autumn night, like we're experiencing right now here in North America, and it just hits so many great moments. A lot of great highs, a lot of great lows, and of course, jaw-dropping musicianship from one of the best guitarists of the 21st century. If you don't believe me, just give this a spin and find out for yourself. Coming in at number 60 is Dead End Finland with Victory. Now, this album is another one that should be up much higher, but I heard this album way too late in the year because I simply forgot that this album came out. But I'm so glad that I did catch it before I put my final version of the top 100 together, because this album rips. I love everything about it. It's their catchiest album to date. They explore some great territories that are going on with this. That signature blend of modern metal and melodeath combined into perfect harmony. One of the best running bands in Finland going right now, and if you haven't checked them out before, you need to right now. Coming in at number 59 is Imperium Decadens with Into Sorrow Evermore. Now, if you want some pure, unadulterated German black metal, it doesn't get better than this. It is filled with raw aggression, but the musicianship is so fantastic along with that songwriting, and it just perfectly fits that need of no matter how you enjoy your black metal, this covers the gamut. While it is more in line with just like pure straight black metal, sometimes that's all you need. And this is a fantastic album from start to finish, so if you just need something slave to the grind black metal, here it is for you on full display. Coming in at number 58 is Of Sulfur with the Burden of Faith. This debut album is the perfect display of how to do symphonic deathcore right, where they do have some brutal breakdowns like you would hear in deathcore, but it is not the main feature of their sound. They focus so much more on the death metal side, the symphonic side, and has a great list of guest appearances as well, featuring one of my favorite vocalists of all time, Howard Jones of Light the Torch and formerly of Killswitch Engage. But that's not all. This is a debut album that really shook the core of what symphonic deathcore could be. While a lot of people are enjoying the new Lorna Shore from last year and the new Carnifex and Mental Cruelty, I think Of Sulfur really does have the best in the gamut so far. And if you don't believe me, just check it out for yourself and see if your opinion changes. It just might. Coming in at number 57 is Grimheart with Hellish Hunt. The debut album from this Hungarian melodic death metal band took me by complete and utter surprise and is easily one of the best of the pure melodic death metal albums of 2023. If you love your stuff from Children of Bodom, if you love your stuff from Insomnium, you're gonna find something to really appreciate here. And of course the lyrical content and how it goes to hell and back, some fantastic stuff here. If this is just their debut album, I can't wait to see what's next. Coming in at number 56 is Ringworm with Seeing Through Fire. As I've talked about before with the band, they are my go-to angry band. When I need to unleash some aggression, when I need to binge and purge all those feelings, Ringworm is the perfect soundtrack to all of that. No other band I can think of just deals as much anger and hatred towards humanity like Ringworm does. And that's no different here with Seeing Through Fire, which takes a great look at the world that we're living in today and puts the perfect soundtrack to our demise. It is fast, it is heavy, it is chunky, it's just everything that you're looking for in this style. I'll probably never go see Ringworm live because I'm afraid of the pits that they put out, but hey, at least on record, it's fantastic stuff. Coming in at number 55 is Kerrigan with Blood Moon. And if you like your revival metal, you like your heavy metal, this is a perfect band for you. Coming in from Germany, they show a great display of what to enjoy from the Iron Maiden and Accept and so many other great bands of those styles, but just the right amount of modern touches to make them stand out from the crowd. It's a short but sweet album. Every single song has great hooks, great choruses, fantastic solos. There's not much else to say. This is just the kind of album that you need to experience for yourself and really dive into what the Blood Moon is all about. Coming in at number 54 is Novaria with Ascent, and this is some fantastic progressive power metal. If you're looking for something in the veins of Symphony X and Pagan's Mind and Manticora, this is all over in strides. And of course, this Italian band has been around for a bit, but I feel like they just keep getting stronger and stronger with every album. And you can definitely hear that here. Especially you can hear the Symphony X influences throughout this entire album, and it's not at a detriment. It really adds to the effect of the band with bringing in their own flavors. It feels like there hasn't been enough progressive power metal albums in 2023, but this is a shining example of how quality will always be quantity. Coming in at 53 is Among Ruins with Land of the Black Sun, and this is some fantastic melodeath. Of course, it's their third album and the first one in 7 years, but the band has taken all the time that they needed to be able to craft what they need to create the best songs possible. Of course, continuing that melodeath sound, but adding just the right different kinds of nuances to really make the song stand out. And you would imagine a band like this, again, would be deep in the heart of Scandinavia, but they're actually Greek. And it's just great to see other countries really embracing that Scandinavian melodic death metal sound. There's so many great things to say about this album, but it's the kind of album that the music does the talking. If you need some melodeath in 2023 that is out of a little bit of a different element, you definitely need to give this band a shot. Coming in at number 52 is Mystic Prophecy with Hell Riot. And funny enough, even though the band has been around for quite a bit of time now, this is actually the first time I've checked out the band, and I feel so stupid for not hearing them sooner. This is such a great display of heavy metal, power metal, speed metal, almost near thrash metal at times as well, but it's all so super catchy. And having gone back and checking out their previous albums, Hell Riot feels like a best of Mystic Prophecy with brand new material, and I mean that in the best way possible because it gives you the best of what the band is about, but just some new lyrical concepts, brand new catchy choruses for you to be able to sing live, and just a fantastic album all around. If you want something on the heavier end of power metal, Mystic Prophecy, well, you gotta check them out. Don't do what I did and wait so long. Check them out right now. Coming in at number 51, concluding the bottom half of Heavy Debriefings' top 100 albums of 2023, is Dark Flood with Illusion of Light. This Finnish melodeath band encapsulates everything that I love about the melodeath scene, particularly from Finland. The perfect blend of melodic moments, death metal moments, and just that mystical feel that you really don't get anywhere else. If you love bands like Insomnium and Omnium Gatherum, you're definitely going to find something to appreciate here, but of course they put in their own blend of spices to really make the band stand out. This is a fantastic album that I haven't seen enough people talk about, so if you're looking for some new melodeath, check out Dark Flood. Coming in at number 50 is Mistfall with Celestial Vision. This debut album from this Greek symphonic gothic metal band is something to truly behold, and another great example that symphonic metal still truly lives, despite so many bands going into the modern metal realm. If you love old school Epica, Nightwish, you're gonna find something to really appreciate here. But of course the band adds their own blends and spices to really make this album and the band themselves truly stand out. With this being their debut album, I only imagine the best is yet to come. and I can't wait to see what happens with their sophomore album. But until then, if you need that symphonic gothic metal twist, this is a band you need to check out. Coming in at number 49 is Enforced with War Remains. And I'll keep this one short and sweet. This is the best thrash metal album of 2023. It combines the crossover of Municipal Waste, the death metal side of Obituary, that classic thrash metal sound, and everything that you could ever love in thrash metal in 2023. Nice, heavy, aggressive, and a great look at the state of the world. What else could you possibly want? Coming in at number 48 is Abandon All with Far Away. Another fantastic debut album from Finland. But rather than going the melodic death metal route, they focus more on the gloomier side, the more melancholic side, and a great sense of heavy metal. It's the kind of stuff that I wish would be on top 40 hard rock radio, and maybe one day things will change for the better. But until then, this band is way too underappreciated here in America, mainly because they just came out. I hope there will be more people like me that check this album out, because it is fantastic, filled with great catchy gothic hooks, fantastic choruses, and so many things that I think people would really appreciate. Go out and check out Abandon All. Coming in at number 47 is Wintersea with their third album, Woven into Ashes. And I can easily say without a shadow of doubt, this is their best album to date. The melodic moments are so catchy. Their extreme moments, flabbergasting on what they're able to accomplish here. The vocal range is astounding, the musicianship is top notch. I can't say enough good things about this. If you want something like Niavlascaris without the violin parts, but you like the idea of the contrast of really extreme metal and progressive metal, you can't do much better than Wintersea. Coming in at number 46 is Orbit Culture with Descent, and this is the first album that I've heard from the band, and having checked out their previous material, this is their best stuff to date, and I really enjoy what they're doing here. I think there's some fantastic stuff going on. It can get symphonic, it can get near deathcore, it can get poppy, thrashy, progressive. They hit so many different territories while all of it makes so much sense, and it's all catchy as all get-go as well. No matter your style of metal, you'll find something here. Of course, they've become social media darlings thanks to apps like TikTok. That's not how I discovered them, but I'm glad that I did. And any way for a band to be able to get their name out in 2023, I can't knock. Coming in at number 45 is Edenfall with To Gaze Longer at the Earth. While it did take 9 years for this album to come to fruition, I'm so glad that it did, as this has some of the band's best material to date. It just feels so strong, they feel revitalized, and it just hits that gothic doom metal tinge that I love so much. No matter your style of it, whether you love Paradise Lost, whether you love My Dying Bride, whether you love Early Anathema, no matter your style, you're gonna find something to appreciate here. Even elements of like Tristania, you'll find in Edenfall. There's some fantastic stuff here if you just look for it, and I can't recommend this album enough. Coming in at 44 is a brand new band known as Temic with Terror Management Theory. This is a brand new supergroup featuring past and present members of Shining, the Neil Morse Group, Haken, Devin Townsend, Marathon. It's just an incredible record, and there is a reason why it is getting so much notoriety. This is how you do progressive rock and progressive metal in 2023. It's so catchy, so heavy, goes into so many different territories with it all being so cohesive, and everyone in this band is beyond skilled, beyond their years. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, and everyone in this band is able to be shown off in the best way possible. If you're looking for something with a little bit of a different kick in 2023 when it comes to prog, check out Temic. Coming in at number 43 is Saturnus with their return album, The Storm Within. While the band didn't officially break up or anything, it did take a long time for this thing to come out, well over a decade, but I'm so glad that it did. One of the saddest albums of 2023, maybe not the saddest, but it's up there. And especially with a name like The Storm Within, you can get an idea of what it's all about. It really hits the mental health influences, the state of the world, everything that's going on, and of course when you're doing melodic death doom, it matches up perfectly with the lyrics. It is devastating. There's no other way to describe it. It is a devastatingly dark album, and I love every single second of it. If you need a doom album to really match what's going on outside right now, when it comes to the dark, deep, cold weather, Saturnus really hits the spot. Coming in at 42 is Battleborn with Blood, Fire, Magic, and Steel. And if you couldn't guess by the title, either from the band or the album, this is heavily inspired power metal, and of course in the realms of the Elder Scrolls series, more specifically Skyrim. They wanted to be what would be the most popular and heavy metal band in all of Skyrim, and I think they really knock it out of the park here. They have little nods and Easter eggs in all of their songs that if you really pay attention to the Elder Scrolls, you're gonna find something to appreciate here. And of course the music is over the top cheesy and heavy, just the way that this kind of power metal should be. And I am all for it. It is fantastic, absolutely phenomenal work here. And just as their debut album, I can't wait to see what else they tackle. Are they going to continue on in Skyrim? Are they going to go into Morrowind or Oblivion? Are they going to wait for Elder Scrolls 6 and be able to have some new lore to be able to tackle? Regardless of what happens, I can't wait. Coming in at number 41 is Gridlink with their return album, Coronet Juniper. The band decided to call it quits several years back, and I was so disappointed as I felt like they ended on their highest notes, but I wanted them to be able to continue going. Now the band is back, and with only 18 minutes of music, for grindcore, this absolutely is a full LP. Many people might consider it an EP, but again, if you're not familiar with grindcore, this is actually quite long for a grindcore album. Although, if you want to double it, it does go to 36 minutes because they do have the instrumental version as well, or as they call it, the karaoke version. But all in all, this is some progressive grindcore, my favorite kind of grindcore, where there is all the intensity and chaos that goes into it, but they add a lot of progressive elements that you would never see coming. Sometimes even clean vocals, clean passages, going into other genres of music, but always maintaining that chaos through and through. I am so glad that Gridlink is back, and you should be as well. Coming in at number 40 is Baroness with Stone. And while it is a little sad to see it end up so low on the list compared to other albums like Purple and Golden Grey, this album is still fantastic. It feels like a best of Baroness with new material and some new influences going on as well. Of course, you got some great moments as well that go on with even blast beats, mellow parts, heavy parts, everything that you would expect from the Baroness catalog up to date, but of course with the Color Spectrum series coming to a conclusion, the band is going into a new direction. Is it with elements? Is it with rock? I don't know yet. We just know that it's Stone, and so far, it does feel like a very great, heavy slab of Baroness, and like I said, it feels like a best-of album with brand new material. And that's one of the best compliments you can really get. Coming in at number 39 is Eclipse with Megalomanium. And this is one of the most diversive albums the band has put out to date. I've seen some people say they don't enjoy it because of the variety, but I love it because of the variety. It's got heavy songs, it's got ballads, it's got a couple pop punk moments in there too. It feels like I'm kind of listening to My Chemical Romance a little bit at times. It is a very all over the place album, but with one key exception, it all makes sense. It is so nice and catchy. It's got that patented AOR rock, AOR metal style, and of course being able to spread the musical wings is always a good thing in my eyes. Eclipse knows how to write a good song no matter how heavy or soft it gets, and there's no better example right now in 2023 than Megalomanium. Coming in at number 38 is Ronnie Atkins with Trinity, the third solo album from this legendary vocalist who has one of the most inspiring stories in music. If you're not familiar, please go look it up, and it might even bring a tear to your eye. Especially with Trinity and everything that he's gone through, the fact that he's still making music, he's still sounding the best that he ever has, and putting out some amazing solo music is always going to mean something near and dear to me. There are songs on this album that just hit me so hard in the heartstrings, and it just might for you as well. It's got some great hard rock moments, a little bit of metal, and that great AOR sound. If you need something like that, Ronnie Atkins is still here for you, putting out some of his best music ever. At number 37, we have The Lion's Daughter with Bathhouse. Continuing on from what the band really started to accomplish with Skin's Show, this album is phenomenal. It's got those great haunted synthwave piano and keyboards. It's got the great metal tinges that you expect from the band. It feels like pure horror metal. And when you listen to the lyrics, it makes it that extra level of creepy. It works so very, very well. And they start to explore a little new territory as well here. A little more on the death metal side, a little more on the thrash metal side, a little more electronica moments from the synthwave sound. All of that and more is explored on this album. It is fantastic. And if you're looking for something after Halloween to really get into that horror spirit, because you can enjoy horror anytime you want to, it's not just Halloween or October, check out The Lion's Daughter. At number 36, we got Oryad with Sacred and Profane. The debut album from this magnificent duo goes all over the place, and I appreciate that so very much. You got your symphonic moments, you got your progressive moments, you got more metal-ish metal moments. You got some very avant-garde moments as well too. It will change on the turn of a dime, and you don't see it coming, but it all makes sense. This is a darkly heavenly album that just makes you feel like you're back in the 1920s, and I love it for that reason. It's haunted, it's scary, it really is sacred and profane, really does live up to the title. And of course, when Vikram Shankar is able to put his stamp of approval and be able to work on this album as well, many times you'll be seeing him coming up in this list. You'll be very happy to know that this is some really fine music. If this is what they're doing for their debut album, I can only imagine that sophomore is going to be that much better. Coming in at number 35 is Sermon with On Golden Verse. The sophomore album from this UK outfit is some of my favorite dark progressive music that has come out this year. It hits so many territories, from near brutal death moments to catatonia moments, a little bit of Tool in there, even though I'm not the biggest Tool fan. There's something to appreciate about this dark style of progressive metal. All clean vocals here, but it tackles so many dark, heavy subject matters that were going on within the world, from the inner self to war to just the state of the world that we live in, and so much more. This is a very underrated album, and I hope more people are able to check this out, because this album deserves your ears. Give this album a shot, and I can't imagine if you love this style of prog, you would be disappointed. Coming in at number 34 is A Flourishing Scorn with Sickened Seed. I have been waiting for this sophomore album for years, almost to the point I wondered if the band was even going to be able to continue on. And lo and behold, from out of nowhere, at least to me, the album has come out, and one of the newest entries to make it into the list. If this would come out later in the year, I guarantee this album would be up even higher, closer to the top, but I'm trying to be fair here. This album simply rules. It captures everything that I love about progressive metal, the extreme side of metal, and it helps that Hannes Grossman, one of the best technical drummers in the world, puts his slab of approval onto this album with his phenomenal jaw-dropping percussion performance. This album, I cannot say enough good words about it. This is how you do extreme progressive metal right. And if you don't believe me, just check it out for yourself. Prepare to have your mind blown. Coming in at number 33 is Ray Alder with his sophomore solo album, 2. This album sadly comes at the price of knowing that Fates Warning may not continue on making new original music. They might be just going out there and becoming a legacy act, which after nearly 40 years, I think they've earned the right to be able to do so. But it is sad to see that they might not be putting out new music. But when you turn the coin, this album is some of the finest work Ray Alder has ever done. And of course, when you have Fates Warning guitarist Michael Abdo, see, I told you he'd be on this list again, being able to show off his amazing song structures on how to write some of the most emotional progressive rock and metal I've heard this year. Yeah, this is fantastic work. You combine the two of them together, you have a dark, brooding, not so very optimistic metal album. But it is progressive, it is nice and heavy, and if you need that Fates Warning sound just in a little bit of a different style, Ray Alder is still pulling the punches. And finally for today, coming in at number 31, is Woe Unto Me, with Along the Meandering Ordeals, Reshape the Pivot of Harmony. A very long title, and it kinda lets you know what you're getting into. It's funeral doom metal. Very long, epic songs on this album, but I want nothing more than to hear these songs over and over and over again. Despite it being a very dark, depressing album, which of course is going to happen in funeral doom metal, the music is so pristine. It's got great progressive moments going on. It hits elements of melodic death doom and death doom in general. The vocals are incredible. The production is pristine. There's so much to enjoy about this album, and it's really one of the best funeral doom albums of the 21st century, in my humblest of humble opinions. I can't wait to see where the band goes next, because they've put out some of their finest work so far on this album, and I can only imagine that's going to continue on going forward. Coming in at number 30 is Enforcer with Nostalgia. Sorry, I can't sing it any other way, especially when you hear it as the title track. Such a great ballad. But seriously, when we get into Enforcer, they basically decided to go back to what people love them for. Zenith was a polarizing album because they started to explore a bit more new territory. And even though I enjoyed the album, the band decided to go back and really capture that heavy metal, speed metal, 80 metal sound that they've always been known for, but just do it to the nth degree and doing it the best that they've ever done. And they absolutely succeeded in that. Nostalgia has some of the best riffs the band has ever done. I can only imagine how great these songs will sound live. Yeah, this is one of the best Enforcer albums to date, bar none. At number 29, we got Tegmentum with Evolvement. While this is not technically the debut album from the band, it feels like a brand new chapter of the band. What I mean by that is, it originally started off as a one-man project, instrumental style. Now it's a full-blown band, and you can really hear the different influences that go into this. Whether you love the more progressive metalcore sound or gent, if you love the tech death side, if you love progressive death metal, if you love your clean vocals, it's got everything and so much more. If you love the heavy side of the Contortionist, if you like hearing some Between the Buried and Me stuff, if you wish the Faceless would have continued on with Monotheist, this is a band that you need to check out. Tackling some science fiction and outer space thematical lyrics, and it just hits so perfectly. One of the best albums of 2023, and it's evident here, even though it's at number 29. If you know better by this list by now, you know this is one of the best albums of 2023. Coming in at number 27 is Syra with the Vertigo Trigger. The third album from this supergroup of a band has really found their niche this time around. It's not too metal, it's not too rock, it's right in the middle. So top 40 hard rock fans will find something to enjoy about this album. Those that really enjoy melodic metal, especially of the In Flames era, will find something to enjoy about this album. Jake E's amazing vocals, Jesper's guitar riffs, Alex's phenomenal drumming. Everyone in this band is incredible, and I really feel like they found the formula that works for the band with the Vertigo Trigger. Everything about this from start to end is fantastic, and if you just want something on that other side of modern metal, this is the band you need to check out. At number 28, we got The Ongoing Concept with Again. And The Ongoing Concept is a really hard band to really nail down and how to describe them. They hit so many great, catchy, almost emotional emo style, but then it goes into crazy mathcore, it goes into some of the catchiest riffs that you'll hear, and get blindsided by all of that and so many other influences. On this album, it's about experiencing life over and over again, or really, again and again. The ups and especially the downs. When you listen to the final track, it seamlessly goes back to the beginning of the album, so you really get that feeling of experiencing it over and over again. I keep saying again because it is an album that is worth checking out again and again. And if you're sick of me saying again, check out Again and see if you'll enjoy it for yourself. Coming in at number 27 is Syra with the Vertigo Trigger. The third album from this supergroup of a band has really found their niche this time around. It's not too metal, it's not too rock, it's right in the middle. So top 40 hard rock fans will find something to enjoy about this album. Those that really enjoy melodic metal, especially of the In Flames era, will find something to enjoy about this album. Jake E's amazing vocals, Jesper's guitar riffs, Alex's phenomenal drumming. Everyone in this band is incredible, and I really feel like they found the formula that works for the band with the Vertigo Trigger. Everything about this from start to end is fantastic, and if you just want something on that other side of modern metal, this is the band you need to check out. Coming in at number 26 is Haken with Fauna. This kind of thematic conceptual album is all about different animals and how they portray to different people in life. And of course, they are no spring chickens when it comes to these kind of ideas. I mean, just look at the song Cockroach King. But seriously, folks, Haken has made one of their most versatile albums to date. The last couple of albums really focused on the metal side. The band has decided to explore so many different territories, a lot more electronica, kind of trip-hop kind of feel. They also get into the metal side, they get into the jazz side. There's so many great moments to this album, and no matter your style of prog, you should be able to find something to thoroughly enjoy here. While the band has gone through some changes, some drastic changes, it's great to see what the band is doing right here in 2023 and still putting out some of the finest material to date of their career. Now at 25, we got Black Braid with Black Braid 2. As you may have guessed, the sophomore album from this band, and they just continue to blend their Native American spirituals, black metal, and so many other influences into this fantastic mold of a band. The songs feel stronger, the instrumentation is broader, and just really thoroughly works with the band. And of course, they got that great Agalog feel, so it really feels like you're in nature while listening to this album. It's fantastic from start to finish, and I can't wait to see them live one day. Black Braid is a polarizing band for many different reasons, but I love what they're doing musically, I love what they're doing thematically, and I can't wait for Black Braid 3. Coming in at number 24 is Keep of Calcium with Catharsis. Their first album in nearly a decade and easily their best album to date. The band continues to explore their melodic blackened death metal side, being able to hear soundscapes that you wouldn't hear on any other album. The vocals just feel like pure emotional agony that can bring you to tears, and it has on more than one occasion for myself. This album just contains some of the best riffs the band has ever done, and sometimes it shows that taking a bit of a break really can be for the best. Whether it's wanted or not, it can really work out for the best. And seeing that Keep of Calcium has put out easily their best album to date, I hope we don't have to wait too long for the next album, but even if we do, at least we got catharsis out of it. At number 23, we got Villian with Spectacle of Tragedy. The sophomore album from this melodic gothic doom metal band is one of the best examples of the genre in 2023. It continues to prove that the genre is not dead, despite what I've heard a lot of people say this year. Villian keeps it alive. Or really, undead, depending on how you look at it. The songs are so emotional and tragic, the riffs are spectacular, the vocal performances top-notch. This is exactly what I like out of my gothic doom metal, and the right amount of melodic moments really makes this album shine through the darkness. If you haven't checked this out, and you like gothic doom as much as I do, you are doing yourself a disservice by not checking out this album. Go and check it out. At number 22, we got Twin Temple with their sophomore album, God is Dead. While this is the least metal album on the entire list, I mean, obviously, it's a doo-wop album. It is one of the most evil albums of 2023, with it being satanic doo-wop. This expands a little bit into their sound. They got more bossa nova grooves, they got more samba stuff going on, but it is, at the end, a very doo-wop album. I like the band exploring. They're able to tackle new themes like satanic orgies. Of course, that's some great stuff. And the title track just brings a smile to your face when it gets to the end. Whether it's out of pure joy or just that comedic tense, I'll let you be the judge of that for yourself. But it's a short, sweet doo-wop album that, if you put it on for your grandparents and you don't let them know about the lyrical content, they might even enjoy it themselves before realizing that they're enjoying the devil's music. The true devil's music. You think it's metal, but it's doo-wop. At number 21 is Deadly Carnage with Endless Blue. Now, I have been able to check out this band on their previous album and enjoyed what they did, and they're continuing it on here with Endless Blue. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is the style of black gaze, but what makes Deadly Carnage stand out is the fact that it's all clean vocals. There is no black metal screams to be heard. Of course, the band originally started as a pure black metal band, but they've been slowly but surely turning in this direction, and I feel it's absolutely for the best. This is their best album to date. If you love the higher energy and the heavier ends of bands like Alcest and Lantlos, but you're not a big fan of those black metal screams, you need to give Deadly Carnage a chance. The soothing, clean vocals over the atmospheric and shoegaze moments, and of course the black metal tinges that is throughout the entire album, might just win you over on the black metal realm. You'll have to check it out for yourself, but I highly recommend it. Number 20 is Insomnium with NO 1696. This concept album, written by the band, is phenomenal. I love what they did with the short story here. Due to being a part of the press and being able to do an interview with Insomnium, I got to check out the full short story and really get to dive into what this album is all about. Getting to know the characters, plot changes, the twists and turns that you don't see coming, making for a truly great horror story. And I got to hear those 3 extra tracks that came out just a few weeks back before anybody else did, so, I gotta tug my color on that one. But seriously, this is one of the best melodic death metal albums of 2023, and Insomnium is the unrivaled kings of Finnish melodic death metal. Be it favored or not, they are at the top for a very good reason, and this is one of the best albums that they have ever done. And if you need to get into the band, if you haven't before, this is an amazing starting place to be able to get into the band. Number 19 is Story of the Year with Tear Me to Pieces. It cracks the top 20. How dare an emo album make it this high? Well, I don't care. I love Story of the Year. I've loved them since Page Avenue. 20 years ago, I've been enjoying this band, and I have no shame putting them on this list. Other albums have made it close to making the top 100. Maybe they've made it, maybe they haven't. But this album, they really directed the ships into the right direction, and I love what they're doing. They got the classic sound back, they're exploring a little more with the electronics, they got a little more of the down-tuned genty guitars. It's okay with me. It is alright and catchy, really nice hooks, vocals, everything on display. The only thing that I'm missing is the fact that I didn't get to see Page Avenue live when they came to Minnesota. Stuff happens, but I'm so glad that this album has gone over so well with the crowd, because it's one of their best albums. Not their best, that's gonna be Page Avenue, and it always will be, but this is a really nice touch. Coming in at number 18 is Wayfarer with American Gothic, and this is my kind of North American folk metal. Of course, they've always explored the folk metal and black metal side, but they really started to appreciate the North American folk metal side on this album. They hinted at it at the previous album, but this time they went fully engaged with it. Despite the fact they have evolved so much over the years, being able to add that country, Americana sound, that classic old-timey PNE, not piano, PNE, and so much more into their black metal and North American folk metal roots. I just love what's going on with this album, and it's one of the finest examples in the genre. I can't say the best, because at the time of recording this, I still have not heard the new Panopticon, which would probably be my number 1 album had I heard it before I made this top 100 list, but I digress. Maybe things will change, I'm not sure. But just in case I don't, you need to check out Wayfarer, you need to check out American Gothic if any of this feels like it might be up your alley. Coming in at number 17 is Lord of Shadows with their debut album, Echoes of Yore. This is a supergroup that I didn't know I needed. Heike, formerly of Draconian, Aaron Stainthorpe of My Dying Bride, doing the most tragic romantic duet album I've ever heard in my life. This album is just incredibly dark, tragic, so embraceful in its gothic doom sound. This is one of the finest examples of gothic doom in 2023, if not the 21st century. This is just all over the map when it comes into gothic doom and just being able to tell this tragic love story. There's so much room to see what could happen in the future. Will Lord of Shadows continue on to tell this story? Will they be able to even tell this story in the future? Will they do something new? I have no idea. But until then, if you need some heartbreak and you need to cry some black tears, seriously, check out Lord of Shadows. Coming in at number 16 is Host with their debut album, 9. And I will say, for the longest time, this was my album of the year, and I honestly thought till the bitter end it would have been. But once I reevaluated things, it still deserved to be in the top 20, and let me explain why. Nick Holmes and Gregor McIntosh of Paradise Lost wanted to be able to celebrate the mid-era of their career. No, not mid as in terrible, I mean the middle part of their career, with albums like Icon, Host, and so many other great things that have come in that late 90s, early early 2000s sound. They got to experiment with industrial, electronic, dark wave, goth wave, and they do it here to incredible and impeccable moments. This album is all over the map when it comes to that goth wave sound, and I love it for it. Whether you love the 80s sound, whether you love the modern sound, there's something here for you. And especially if you miss that late 90s, early 2000s Paradise Lost, Host is the band for you. Coming in at number 15 is Orphans of Dusk with Spleen. One of the best examples of gothic doom metal in 2023. Imagine Typo Negative meets Woods of Ypres with a little bit of Catatonia and Paradise Lost thrown in as well. A little bit of My Dying Bride as well. There's so many great gothic doom elements combining so much of what I love about the genre into one. It gets a little poppy, a little catchy, a little dark, a little doomy, a little bit of everything. And if you love this style of music, Orphans of Dusk have done it to perfection. The fact that they've done this on their debut album is phenomenal, and I can't wait for that sophomore album to see where the band goes next. Coming in at number 14 is Redemption with I Am the Storm. Of course, the band has always been known for their dark side of progressive metal, tackling death, love, loss, and everything in between, but within the last album, and especially in this album, you start to hear some more of something you would never expect from Redemption: optimism. I always think of Redemption as black and white, where now with the Tom England and Vikram Shankar era of the band, you start to see splashes of color everywhere and make you feel, dare I say, positive. Of course, there's plenty of the dark stuff to go around. It just wouldn't be Redemption without that. But as I mentioned earlier this year when I did my backwards marathon on Redemption, this is a perfect Redemption album, and I gave it an S tier ranking for a very good reason. This is one of the best albums Redemption has ever done, easily the best album with Tom England and Vikram Shankar, and if this is what they're doing now, what's the next album gonna be like? I can't wait. Coming in at number 13, one of the most evil albums of 2023 is Satan's Fall with Destination Destruction. Yes, if you're looking for that Merciful Fate sound, done through a more 80s filter, being able to incorporate more of that European 80s heavy metal feel. Not necessarily the King Diamond falsettos, but, you know, done in a different way. Satan's Fall is a band that you need to check out. The sophomore album from this Swedish band is just incredible. It has that revival sound, that heavy speed metal sound, and towards the end of the album you'll hear some black metal as well. It was a welcome change. This concept album is dark and evil and contains a lot of great stuff that, if you pay attention to the lyrics, some really cool stuff is going on within it. I can't wait to see where the band goes from here. This is an unsung band I've noticed in 2023, but let me shout it from the rooftops. One of the best bands in 2023 hitting that vintage 80s sound. Go check them out now. Coming in at number 12 is Head with Wings with Without Intervention. The band has explored so much of their sound. They're able to explore that proggy side, getting heavy just enough, exploring more of the alternative side, really exploring the idea of non-linear songwriting when it comes to conceptual ideas. The unsung hero of 2023, although I continue to sing his praises, Vikram Shankar, not only was able to do some keyboards on this album, but he produced it, he mixed it, he mastered it, he was able to put his input onto the album, and he does just a magnificent job along with the band. Head with Wings is something that's near and dear to me. If you didn't know before, my mental health show that I do, Something Gives with Josh Runquist, I named that after the song Somewhere Something Gives off of the first album, so they're always going to have some near and dear attachment to me. I hope you go check it out. Oh, and it's Hideo Kojima approved. At number 11 is Cattle Decapitation with their concept album Terrasite. They started off as a pure gore grind band, but over the years, the band has discovered their sound, learned to actually play their instruments, be able to learn to sing and scream, and have become one of the best progressive and technical death grind bands in all of the world. And this time around, they finally embraced a full-on concept album with Terrasite, about the world being destroyed and our reactions to it, of course done through a sci-fi lens. The band features things that you would never have expected from a band like this before, with piano, synths, progressive elements, so much clean singing. I can understand why the early day fans don't appreciate this album. I don't care. They have done so many great things here, and Terrasite is just the best of what they've done so far. I hope they continue down this direction and explore even more of what they're capable of. Coming in at number 10 is The Anchorette with It All Began with loneliness. This dark and downtrodden album is something that truly speaks to me. I love everything that's going on here. It is dark, it is depressing, but it has some of the best musicality that I've heard in 2023. Imagine King Crimson, Opeth, Pain of Salvation, Porcupine Tree, Edge of Sanity even. There's so many great things that are going on with this album. All clean vocals, I should add onto there as well. But this album is just pristine. This is the kind of album that I wish more prog fans would enjoy. This is the kind of album I wish more prog bands would be inspired by. And I really hope that that happens in 2023. No matter if you love progressive death metal and black metal, all the way to the jazziest progressive rock, you will find something to enjoy about this album. It is one of the best albums of 2023 for a reason, and you just need to check it out for yourself. Coming in at number 9 is Heinayana with their sophomore album, Shatter and Fall. This Texas band does not feel like they come from Texas. It is another band that feels like they are deep, dark in the forest of Scandinavia. It is from the Lone Star State, and they show that they can be just as dark and heavy any Scandinavian metal band. But with all that said, they also have some of the greatest melodic moments that I've heard this year as well. Their use of keyboards and the guitar riffs magically doing the great melodies and harmonies to match up everything is astounding. No matter the tempo, whether it gets a little bit faster, whether it gets a little bit slower, or those mid-tempo stompers, there's some fantastic stuff going on here. And the fact that a band like Wolfheart has really taken them under their wing and been able to show them across Europe, I really hope it makes them expand. Because again, just their sophomore album and seeing what they're doing here, and I know they're already working on the third album, I can't wait to see what's next. This is the new generation of melodic death doom. Coming in at number 8 is Catatonia with Sky Void of Stars. My overall favorite album from Catatonia is Last Fair Deal Gone Down. I love it because it explores pretty much every single side of Catatonia except for the death doom side that they did early on, and sadly, that side's never coming back. This album is like a 2023 version of that. They explore all the different sides of what Catatonia has done up to this point, exploring more with the electronics side, and it really does feel like a revitalized version of Last Fair Deal Gone Down. This is probably what City Burial should have been, as I know that's such a watershed moment in the Catatonia catalog, especially since it was supposed to be a Jonas solo album that they reworked into a Catatonia album. This is probably what should have came first, but also if that album didn't happen, we might not have gotten Sky Void of Stars, so I'm okay with it all. And that said, I love this album. It is quickly becoming one of my favorite Catatonia albums, and easily one of the best albums of the year. Coming in at number 7 is Lunar with The Illusionist. The band's third album is a concept album of an illusionist, thinly veiled as a way of looking at real-life mental health struggles. And it just hit me something so very, very hard. And it gives me tears in my eyes even when I listen to the full album in its entirety to this day. And of course, the thing that I do love about this album, obviously besides thematically and conceptually, is the music. The music explores everything from progressive death metal to 30s jazz and everything in between. There's a lot of great guest stars on this album, and I don't want to give anything away because some might really surprise you, but this album is full of magnificent musicianship and songwriting, lyrics that just pull on your heartstrings, and a finale where you basically get to choose your own ending. Is it happy or is it sad? You decide. But seriously, there is a reason why this is one of the best albums of 2023, especially one of the best, if not the best prog album of 2023. Check it out for yourself. Coming in at number 6 is Blackbriar with their Nuclear Blast debut, A Dark Euphony. Now this is an album that all gothic metal bands should aspire to. It's got a great atmospheric, almost fairy-like feel, but it gets so dark, gothic, and evil at the same time. It's like the highest of the skies meets the lowest of the hells, and it's done in such a magnificent way. Beautiful soaring vocals, dark, gloomy atmosphere, some of the greatest riffs in gothic music, just an overall great sense of symphonic feel, and a little bit of alternative tinges as well. Things that you don't necessarily see coming, but work so perfectly well. This is a band that I want to see explode and become one of the biggest bands of their genre. And it's already starting to happen. A lot of people are picking up on this band, and I'm so happy to see it. They deserve all the love and respect that they get, and they're only going to flourish from here on out. Go and check this album out and see what I'm talking about. Coming in at number 5 is Silent Skies with Dormant. The duo of Tom England of Evergrey and Redemption and Vikram Shankar of almost every single band in existence in some way, shape, or form, and of course Redemption as well. They started off meeting in the band and decided that they have a love of cinematic dark pop. Over these 3 albums, they have shown such a great contrast and bombardment of different styles, and this is the best example of it so far. There's a little more percussion on this album, the lyrics hit just as hard as ever before, if not more so. They even do some covers this time around of Bruce Springsteen, Linkin Park, and Iron Maiden. Just everything about this album can bring you to tears. Like, if you think Adele is sad dark pop, you haven't heard Silent Skies. And even though it might be one of the lightest albums of 2023 on my list, it's one of the heaviest albums of 2023. Coming in at number 4 is the debut album from Death of Giants, Ventasorg. And this is by far the saddest album of 2023. The real-life concept album of a couple going through one of the hardest things you could ever imagine going through, losing your partner to cancer. Everything from the earliest stages, getting that notice from the doctor that you only have 2 to 5 years to live, everything until the very end. And if you listen to this album, if you've ever lost anyone in your life, you're gonna weep, you're gonna cry, you're gonna bawl your eyes out. It is one of the most heart-wrenching experiences of 2023 and one of the most heart-wrenching albums I've ever heard. But again, it's one of the most cathartic albums I've ever listened to as well too. It perfectly captures the binge and purge and the sorrow that comes from losing someone you love. What's going to happen on the sophomore album, I can't even fathom, but I can't wait to see where things go from here. Coming in at number 2 is Mercenary with Soundtrack for the End Times. Been almost a decade since their previous album, and while I know a lot of people feel that their earliest albums are their best albums, I have to say contraire mon frère, as I feel like Soundtrack for the End Times is their best album to date. A perfect look at the state of the world that we live in right now, how we deal with mental health, the struggles that we deal with that mental health. Of course, they'll always be known as a melodeath band, but they explore so much of more progressive and power metal this time around. There's so much going on here about the world that we live in right now, and even if we don't survive what could happen in the future, there's no reason to go out sad. And maybe if we do that, maybe we can fix a lot of the problems that we have in the world right now. So catchy, so hooky, so heavy. This album rules. And if you don't believe me, even if you're an old school fan who doesn't like the new sound of Mercenary, I challenge you to listen to this album and prove me wrong. The number 1 album of 2023 is Night Demon with Outsider. The band's 3rd album and first in quite a bit of time shows a dramatic change in the band. They're gonna have that revival sound, that heavy metal, speed metal sound, but this has something that the previous 2 albums did not really focus on because they didn't need to. It has dynamics in a way that has never been done before in the band, and it works so well for the concept that's going on. It feels like the soundtrack to a horror movie you haven't seen yet. Musically, there's so many dark, mellow moments that happen. When I first heard this album, I had no idea what to think, but towards the end of that first listen, I instantly fell in love with everything, and I knew it was going to be one of my top albums of the year. You get all the range of Night Demon in 2023, and when you're doing storytelling like this concept album, it just makes everything that much more impactful. There's a reason why it's my top album of 2023, and if you give this album a shot, you might just enjoy it yourself. And for the first time ever, we actually have a tie for number 1. And this is the latest entry, Panopticon, with the Rhyme of Memory. Yes, this literally just came out, but I had to make a video on it, which explains the way that I look, but I had to do this. If you checked out the band's previous album, And Again Into the Light, this flourishes even more upon that album, and it just contains everything that I love about the band. The North American folk metal side, the aspects that I love so much about being able to get into post-rock and bluegrass and Americana and black metal, and hitting with so many hard-hitting things that we have to deal with in life. and how we may not be able to escape it. All that and more is contained in the Rhyme of Memory. You've seen a lot of people be able to talk about this album and how it is one of the best albums of 2023. Well, I go one further and say that it shares the top spot for the top album of 2023. Austin, you've done it again.